It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler.
Hey guys, Tyler here. For this video, I'm gonna respond to a Pokemon video that's called Kaiju Origins Braxcalibur. And so the question then becomes, geez Tyler, why exactly are you responding to a Pokemon video? The main reason why I'm responding to this Pokemon video was because of this particular segment right here.
To date, Hiroshima and Nagasaki are the only areas struck by nuclear weapons as an act of war. And while its defenders claim that ultimately there were fewer civilian and soldier casualties as a result of these bombs ending the war then and there, that doesn't undo the damage or the emotional gut punch that losing that many people instantly causes on a nation, let alone the world that was from then on forever changed and under the ever-looming threat of more nuclear attacks. Japan coped with this new scar through a number of ways, but one soon became an icon. In 1954, Ishiro Honda and Eiji Tsuburaya released the first Godzilla movie. It was the early days of Japanese film, and nobody had ever seen something like this before. The film was about Godzilla, this new giant monster called a kaiju that was accidentally created as the result of nuclear weapons testing. The radiation of the explosion caused a marine iguana to mutate, harness the power of nuclear energy, and grow massive. It later approached Japan and laid waste to its cities, an apt metaphor for the damage caused by nuclear weapons and, in a way, personifying the very fear associated with them in a more visual, visceral, and monstrous way. It became iconic. Though, like with most horror movie monsters and action heroes from classic movies, while the first of their franchise is deep and profound and symbolic and considered a masterpiece, the sequels really got kind of cash grabby and silly, you know? I immediately think Rambo. I mean, the first one was this deeper movie about Rambo, a tragic victim and victimizer of war and violence. You get metaphors for PTSD and emotional trauma, and it's not only glorifying the violence, it's showing just how messed up it is that stuff like this happens. And then in the sequels, he's shooty, mass murdering, stab, muscle man, war hero, explosion America, whoa! And the same thing happened to Godzilla. Sure, it invented a genre, but that genre kinda got silly. Like, oh, Godzilla, he's fighting an ape now. He's helping other humans fight other monsters. He's flying like this somehow. It just got more and more ridiculous, to the point where the kaiju genre was seen as a thing for kids, more so than for adults. I mean, think about the Ultramans and the Power Rangers and all that. It wasn't until Godzilla Minus One, nearly 70 years later, that the Godzilla franchise got back to its roots as not only a powerful and emotional metaphor, but also as being award-winningly good.
Before I criticize the argumentation, I first want to state that I have nothing against this particular content creator. And the main reason why I say that is largely because I know that criticizing an idea can sometimes be conflated with hating a person. However, just because I might disagree with somebody on their argumentation does not necessarily mean that I therefore hate that person as an individual because of that argumentation I might disagree with. And my second major point is that I also think that when it comes down to media critique, especially of franchises, I have at least 3 different criteria for this particular case. My first major criteria is to watch the movies in the franchise. If somebody is talking about a major franchise and they have no idea what exactly are the plot of the movies, then that person might come across as incredibly uninformed. My second kind of critique for people making critiques about franchises is that they need to research about the history behind the movie. And my third and major final thing is to make sure that they're actually fact-checking the details about this thing that they're actually critiquing about. So the first thing that I just said right now is basically the person must have a historical knowledge about the franchise.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki are the only areas struck by nuclear weapons as an act of war. And while its defenders claim that ultimately there were fewer civilian and soldier casualties as a result of these bombs ending the war then and there, that doesn't undo the damage or the emotional gut punch that losing that many people instantly causes on a nation, let alone the world.
As you guys saw a second ago, the YouTuber displayed some sort of historical knowledge when it came down to the history of the Godzilla franchise. But my other criteria, like I said before, is the fact that a person must watch the movie and must also fact check things that they got wrong. And this, of course, happened within the same video.
It wasn't until Godzilla Minus One, nearly 70 years later, that the Godzilla franchise got back to its roots as not only a powerful and emotional metaphor, but also as being award-winningly good.
When he stated that Godzilla got serious again with Minus One, it shows me just right now that he have not fact-checked the information that he was studying about, and that he also did not see the other movies in the franchise before he made that particular comment. There were plenty of serious movies in the Godzilla franchise that were released prior to Minus One. For example, as early as 2016, there was Shin Godzilla, and that particular movie dealt with the Fukushima nuclear crisis. There was the first ever MonsterVerse movie that came out back in 2014, and again, that particular film featured Godzilla fighting the Mutos, but again, the tone throughout the whole entire film took itself very seriously prior to the newer movies. There was an entire series of movies that were made between the 1980s and 1990s that was something that was known as the Heisei series. And those kind of movies feature stuff like Godzilla 1985, Biollante, King Ghidorah, and Destroyer, and they took themselves very seriously when they were released back then. There were also movies that were filmed between the 60s and 70s that also took themselves very seriously. For example, the terror of Mechagodzilla took itself very seriously. There was also Mothra vs. Godzilla that again took itself very seriously. Monster Zero, for the most part, also took itself very seriously. There were also one other claim in the video that I found to be very strange.
It wasn't until Godzilla Minus One, nearly 70 years later, that the Godzilla franchise got back to its roots as not only a powerful and emotional metaphor, but also as being award-winningly good.
My first citation comes directly from Japan's favorite monster, the unauthorized biography of the Big G by Steve Rifle. According to page 47 in the book, it says right here that Eiichi Tsuburaya returned to Toho as a freelancer in 1950 and as a staff member in 1952. When production began on Godzilla in 1954, he already is in his 50s, but was about to launch Japan's second special effects boom, the most productive and creative period of his life. From Godzilla until his death, Tsuburaya worked on 56 feature films, mostly science fiction or war movies. The Honda Tsuburaya works in particular were among the biggest money makers of Toho's golden age. So Tsuburaya's trickery began to achieve the recognition he had hoped for. He won 5 technical awards from the Japanese Movie Association, roughly the equivalent of the Oscar for special effects, for Godzilla 1984, The Mysterians 1957, The Street Treasures 1959, The Lost World of Sinbad 1963, as well as Monster Zero. For the case of Shin Godzilla, it won many awards, including Best Picture, Best Achievement in Cinematography, Best Special Effects, Outstanding Achievement in Art Direction, Best Lighting Direction, Best Achievement in Sound Scoring, Best Editing, Director of the Year. So, although Godzilla -1 was the first ever recognized Godzilla movie that achieved the Oscars, there were other Godzilla movies, as I demonstrated, that also won awards directly in Japan as well. As I demonstrated in this video, this particular YouTuber have not met 2 of my 3 criteria, and therefore the argumentation that he actually demonstrated in the video can in fact be dismissed, because we have plenty of examples of Godzilla movies being serious prior to -1. But what do you guys think about my response video? Tell me in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.
It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. He's your only black friend, so he's your best black friend. I won't trade him for another black friend, because black friends are rare, as you should be aware. He smiles like Richard Pryor, so just sit and stare. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler. It's everyone's friend, it's Tyler.